This is the Sportsbet Premier League preview in the Clubhouse. Welcome along for another week. It's match week 17. And welcome along to both of my guests today. We've got Paul Robinson, who's there. You can point and say, that's how it works. Look at that smile. And Neil Mellor, back in the Mellor Museum over there on the Wirral somewhere. Don't say where. The Leisure Peninsula. So Neil, looking forward to Liverpool Manchester United this weekend. That's the big game that we've got to cover. We're getting there. Well, we've got everything else to get through there next. Busy week, gents. So how have we been? You've been different gantries you've been on.
Last night was an interesting one, yeah. Stockport Aldershot, decent game in the FA Cup, good second round replay. Decent game. Aldershot did really well. Gantry was an experience getting up and down at my age, up a ladder. It's
a straight up and down ladder as well. I was on a gantry on Tuesday night at Huddersfield Town against Preston, one of your old sides, Neil. Playing very well under Ryan Lowe.
Good away win. They were due a win.
They were.
Yeah, nice to see the back ways.
And where have you been this week?
Quiet week. I had a tooth out, so I've been feeling sorry for myself. I'm watching it all on TV. Wisdom.
There you go. There'll be a few. I think there's going to be a few more in at Liverpool on Sunday as well. The new stand behind the away end.
Is it open finally?
They're going to be 7,000 more there on Sunday if they get their certificates.
Is it right that the building company that's doing that was the one that's responsible for doing Fulham's, and there's been a few financial issues they've gone bust,
completely
and that's why,
gone. Yeah,
and that's why both stadiums are taking so long.
There's been that delay, but Liverpool will have if they get their 7,000 extra on Sunday, they will be the biggest Anfield attendance since 1973. Since Shankly was manager. So it should be quite the noise. Neil, let's have a little chat about Manchester United before we go. Actually, let me just press this and we can have a talking point. Manchester United going out of Europe in midweek. It's another bitter blow for Manchester United. And we've spoken about United in these kind of sections before, haven't we, Neil? But what does it mean to United going out of the Champions League and the way that they're playing in the Premier League as well? We've spoken about lows and highs and lows, and it doesn't feel right. However, the results are coming in, and you look at the Premier League table, they're there or thereabouts.
Yeah, they're not in a good place. It's clear to see. I think it's embarrassing that they're not in Europe after Christmas with the group that they had. You know, you're looking at Copenhagen and Galatasaray. No disrespect for them, but I'm certainly expecting United to finish above one of those teams. Didn't finish above either. They'll point to the injuries that they're having at the moment because they've got quite a few injuries. But one thing that really struck me watching the game, and it surprised me, I have to say this, because Manchester United are a huge football club, but the fans almost looked resigned to defeat. I thought the atmosphere was flat, never really got going, and you could say that the players didn't really perform. There was a lack of belief from the players, lack of belief from the fans, and I just couldn't believe that. The fact that if they won the game or got something from it, they could have been playing in Europe after Christmas. So they're not in a good place in terms of being out of Europe. They're out of the League Cup as well. The FA Cup, there's a long way to go. Who knows with that? But what's interesting is the fact that United and Newcastle are both out of Europe in the group stages. That could actually affect England's chances of getting a fifth place Champions League team. And that could be United or Newcastle this season. So because they've been so bad in Europe, both those teams, that could actually cost them being in the Champions League next season. I think there will be a battle. I think in the league, they've been okay against the lesser sides, mid-table and below. They've just really struggled against the top sides. And this weekend, Liverpool can really hurt Manchester United. They are not looking forward to this game. Whereas for Liverpool, the game just can't come quick enough.
Decent point Neil makes there about the coefficients in Europe, Paul, and the fifth position could actually the way that they've played in these group stages could affect the way that they're playing next season, which competition they're playing in.
I thought he did really well there, Neil. I mean, he kept his counsel well. I thought it was going to be like that clown, when you go to the seaside in the glass box. You just put the money in, he just sits there laughing when you ask him about Manchester United. Yeah, I mean, the effect that it could have on the Premier League is detrimental, with Newcastle and United not being in the Champions League, not playing in Europe. I watched them last week against Chelsea. I spoke to you and I said it's the best performance of the season I've seen from them. Their attitude, the work rate, it was there, but it hasn't been there for the rest of the season. They do that against Chelsea at home, albeit a poor Chelsea, and then they turn up like they did against Bournemouth, and they were awful against Bournemouth. And then the Champions League again at home, all right, they're playing Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich got beat 5 at the weekend, and it was the last weekend they had 5 put past them. So they're not an unbeatable proposition, but Manchester United, they're just not the Manchester United of old. There's something fundamentally wrong. I mean, you look at the amount of managers that they've had from Sir Alex Ferguson to now. They've had managers that have won everything, managers that have won nothing, and nobody's had any success. So there's a time where the players on the pitch have got to start taking a bit of responsibility. The stuff coming out of the dressing room, the noises. There's too many problems there. There's too many players that are not good enough, and there's too many players that are underperforming. And it does look like he's lost the dressing room. Something has got to change there. The expectancy at Manchester United is the very, very highest expectancy you can get in football, and it's just not there. I mean, Man United do not get beat at home by Bournemouth 3-0. If that's a one-off, you go, oh, wow, okay, brilliant, Bournemouth, well done.
Everything's
but
gone
it's
against
not.
you, yeah.
But it's not a one-off. It's every week.
And it could have been 5 balls in the net 5 times. Could have been a lot worse. Not that it wasn't terrible. Sorry, I nearly started laughing. But we're coming up to that one. And essentially, just in Europe, talking about the way the Champions League is panning out now, it's almost like City and Liverpool would have to win their competitions for this 5th place to drop in. Not that anyone is particularly bothered about that, who goes into the Champions League or whatever. The big supporters of the big teams are, clearly. But a bit of a change in Europe. City and Arsenal, the only English teams left in. 4 Spanish sides top their groups. I mean, it's not exactly the Premier League strength that we're so used to.
But then you look at the other two, City and Arsenal, you'd expect to be there, and you definitely expect them to be in the last 16. Then you look at Manchester United, where they are this year, and Newcastle, team that are running completely on empty. Newcastle, I mean, yes, they've done fantastically well. They're ahead of schedule. You can't keep going to the well and asking the same players. They've had a huge injury list. You know, they've had a really downturn in form. And for them to be in the Champions League this year was a huge achievement. And Manchester United, looking at it now, to finish 3rd last year and win a League Cup, you would have expected them to kick on, but they're just not the same team. City and Arsenal are in a completely different league to Man United and Newcastle at the moment.
And have they both got a chance, Neil, of actually going all the way in the Champions League, Arsenal and City?
Yeah, we'll have 6 English teams in Europe after Christmas. Obviously, you've got Villa, who've got a good chance of winning the conference. You've got Liverpool, who've got a good chance of winning Europa League, and City, obviously holders of the Champions League. So we could actually have 3 English teams winning those European competitions. So that 5th place could come alive again for Newcastle or United.
And it's a good price for that as well. By the way, I looked at it last night. You have a look at 3 English teams to win all competitions. It's a really good price.
Tit for the top.
Well, I've just named them teams. You're thinking, well, Villa look good. Who's going to beat them in that competition? Liverpool. Despite the Champions League comes into Europa League, I think Liverpool have got a good chance of winning that. And City, who's going to beat City in the Champions League? Bayern Munich? Not sure. Real Madrid, maybe. There's not that many standout candidates that can really push them. So I don't think Arsenal will. I think they're capable, but I don't think they will. But yeah, I think the English teams will do well. But yeah, United and Newcastle, really disappointing. Newcastle had a tough group, so fair enough. And Newcastle had a go, by the way. The fans were at it, the players were at it. But for a brilliant save by the Milan goalkeeper at 1-1, Newcastle would have finished 2nd because they'd have gone 2-1 up and they probably would have gone through. So that was a big moment in the game.
We await the Arsenal-Man City tie in the Champions League, or I do anyway. Take their minds off things that may or may not be happening in the Premier League, which is where we are going next.